All right, so maybe you've been thinking about starting a podcast, and maybe you have been thinking about it just because you feel like you should, or you see other people doing it, other entrepreneurs, other therapists, whatever it may be, and so you think, well, then I should probably do it, or it's going to get me more clients, or it's going to help me make more money. I want to help you make an informed decision about that today. All right, so I've got 4 simple things to share with you to help you answer for yourself this question of, should I start a podcast? All right, number 1, do you have a novel idea? Do you have an idea that is truly unlike any podcast that's out there right now? Okay, there are a lot of podcasts. I believe it is the fastest growing medium in the world right now in terms of media. So do you have an idea that is truly going to stand out on its own? Or are you just going to be competing for maybe the number 2 or 3 slot in a type of podcast that already exists and someone has already been doing it a lot longer than you? Okay, so I think in order to start a podcast, you really have to have a novel idea. Even if you're great, you're fantastic, you're a good speaker, you got a nice microphone, etc. So, do you have an idea that's truly novel? Do you have an idea that you know people want to hear about? Maybe even do some testing around this idea. Maybe just even creating a Facebook poll or polling your email list or something like that. I think you can do a little bit of research before you dive into podcasting to help you make sure that it is, in fact, something that people want to hear. Number 2, do you have the time? Okay, so I think at least in the beginning, there's quite a steep learning curve, especially if you are in fact going to do all of your podcast editing and publishing yourself, which a lot of people end up doing in the beginning. So in order to do that, I would say generally plan for every hour that you are recording your podcast, plan for at least another hour to do everything else. So that includes editing the actual audio, editing the ID3 tags for the audio and learning what that means, writing up the show notes, contacting your guests, scheduling guests, rescheduling guests, creating the actual blog post for it, promoting it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is. So there's a lot that goes into a podcast. So do you have the time? Also keeping in mind that for a lot of people, it could be 6 months, 9 months, maybe even more likely a year until the podcast is actually profitable, until it's actually made you $1, as opposed to actually just has costed you money so far. All right, and so number 3, and speaking of money, do you have the money for what it takes? Keeping in mind that you're going to need a microphone, which could be anywhere from $60 to $300. You're going to need some other accessories and like a stand and stuff like that for your microphone. You're going to need to pay for a host, which is about $20 a month, something like that. If you don't want to use your own time to edit and publish the podcast, you're going to need to pay a podcast editor, which is a fantastic idea if you can afford it. They can be, I think, on average, somewhere around $100 an episode to $150 an episode. Certainly, there's quite a bit of variability in there. So if you're going to publish weekly, which you should, at least weekly, you're looking at anywhere between $400 and maybe $600 extra a month. Also keeping in mind, again, you're not going to be making money from this podcast through sponsors and stuff like that for quite some time. All right? So far do you have a novel idea? Do you really have the time? Do you have the money to get started and to keep it going? All right? Number 4, do you enjoy it? All right? Is this something that you really want to do? And maybe you try it out. Maybe you record a few episodes just kind of on your own before even launching the idea, just to figure out if you like it, right? Because a lot of times you might find that you don't. And I think that's totally fine. There's other ways for you to create content and build an audience around yourself. So this ended up being kind of me talking about the negatives or the warnings before starting a podcast. But again, I just want you to see for yourself kind of what's realistic, what really goes into it, and is this something that is truly for me? Now, to end on a positive note, if you do have a novel idea, you've got a fantastic idea, no one's done it before, you've got plenty of time, all right, you've got a few hours a week or 5 hours a week to put into it or whatever it may be, you've got some money to put into it, and you really enjoy it, this is something you really love doing, you know you love podcasting, then the answer is absolutely go for it. It's a fantastic medium. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite type of content to publish. And so, you know, if you hit all these categories and said yes to all these questions, then go for it. Give it a shot. Do it consistently, right? Be patient around building that audience and getting your numbers up. And I think it can turn into a really fantastic asset to your business and even a strong revenue stream for you. All right, went through that fast. I hope you got a lot out of it. You can always go back and re-listen if you need to. If you haven't already done so, go to privatepracticeworkshop.com for other free resources, and it's just a place for you to learn more, make better decisions in your practice, etc. Download the email marketing workshop if you haven't already. And then of course subscribe to this YouTube channel. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below, and I will do my best to make a video to answer your question. All right, see you next time.